Okay, good evening and welcome to chapter 31 of The Living Marriage. We're at the end of lesson 9. There's only 10 lessons over here. There is an appendix where he talks about five additional things which are important in relation to this discussion. Lesson 9 revolves around things which are neither obligatory nor forbidden in the bedroom, things which you should take into account and consider when you're making decisions about how you want, often you want to do in the bedroom, what you want to do in the bedroom. So part three over here is called other considerations. We talked about things that the wife enjoys. We talked about things the man enjoys in the previous two chapters. Here, there's other reasons to consider to change your decision or to consider when you want to plan how often and when and what and why when you're going to be together if you're planning it. A lot of the best relationships where you don't plan it, than a husband and a wife. It's not expected. If it's expected and it's planned, it ruins it really, because one of the greatest enjoyments of the act of being together with your wife is when it's a surprise. It just happens in the heat of the moment. That's just the way it is. Because being sexual with your wife is, it's driven by the baser instincts of a person. Now, when we say base instinct, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It means it's the more human instincts. And we're earthly beings. We have gravity. We live on the ground. We live in this world. We're not flying in the air. So when it's base, doesn't mean it's bad. Base doesn't mean it's bad. It's more part of the earthly part of us. It's good to be human. That's why it's better. Anyone will tell you it's better when it's not planned. Um, so there's other considerations to take in mind, take into consideration, to take into account when you're planning, or yeah. I mean, there's an overall plan, not a specific plan. He mentions three things over here. Number one is peace of mind. Number two is living with health. I mean, it's physical health, that your body should be healthy. And number three is emotional health. He talks briefly about each one. He says how Chazal emphasized that it's important that he brings a pasuk in Mishlei, lo navel exil tanug, right? Exil, a fool, right? A fool thinks enjoyment, tanugim, pleasures in this world is not correct. It's not the right thing to do. Lo nave, it is not appealing for the fool to be involved with pleasures, right? Sounds like what? That a smart man, it's a smart thing to be involved with pleasures. Now, oh my gosh, how did Shlomo Melech say this? Shlomo Melech with 1,000 wives. He said it very good. He knew 1,000 wives. It's good to be involved with pleasures. Um, so, of course, the author doesn't believe that there's a reason to be involved with pleasure as an end to itself. Of course, the reason of pleasure is just to aid and abet unification with your wife. However, um, sometimes you need to be together with your wife in order to have peace of mind. He brings Gemaras that it's important to marry a good-looking woman, because not because you're going to enjoy the woman, but because when you look at your wife, you see nice things, just like you see a nice piece of artwork on your wall, or you have a nice house and a nice pool in your backyard with a fountain, of course, so and a nice car. So you see nice things. Marchivin daitel shel adam, the Gemara says. It makes your mind, it widens your mind, it enables you to learn Torah better, to machadish in Torah better, right? So therefore, every Talmud Chacham who wants to become a big Rosh Yeshiva should go out and buy himself a nice house. He can read stucco for that. Marry a beautiful woman. Uh, no, they don't emphasize this enough. I think it really should be emphasized enough that more. I mean, in the secular world, everyone knows, one of the most important quality for a man looking at a woman is her appearance. A woman looking for a man, not necessarily his appearance. It might be noticed the first thing, but for a woman, his personality is a lot more important than his appearance. But for a man, appearance comes before personality. A man would much rather be with a beautiful woman who has a boring personality than to be with an ugly woman who has a great personality. Just the truth of the matter. And it's really important. This really is important. Not what the author says, because you'll be able to learn better. Which is true. It is true. The Gemara is saying a fact. It is true. When you have nice things around, you have nice clothes, nice jewelry, a nice wife, a nice house. It expands your your horizons. It expands your thoughts because you feel peace of mind. What he says, serenity, which is very important. But it is very important to marry a beautiful woman, or at least a good-looking woman that you're attracted to, because uh, that's really, your marriage is about. I've emphasized the whole book that the marriage is about intimacy. The whole point you get married is for intimacy, and you're obviously going to enjoy intimacy a lot more if you look at a woman that you're attracted to. If you marry when you're not attracted to, it really, it makes your life very difficult. You know, especially the concept of monogamy. You're only allowed to be married to one woman. You're not going to get divorced, especially if you have kids with that woman. So it makes life very difficult if you're not attracted to a woman. So a man should, even though they de-emphasize this and they talk about shidduchim, and it's terrible. Girls send and the boys ask for the pictures of the girls. Well, they should be asking for the pictures of the girls, or at least they should. Yeah, they should meet one time and be able to see how they look like. Because what do you mean? Are midos are more important? No, the most important thing about a woman doesn't change in Judaism versus the secular world. Judaism also believes in the concept of intimacy. This whole book is dedicated to telling you how important it is to have a good relationship in the bedroom. And the thing which is going to help the relationship in the bedroom most for the man is how the appearance of the woman. The woman also is going to help the appearance of a man, but it doesn't make such an impact for a woman as it does for a man. So if you're dating, you should ask for as many pictures as possible. And if you have the opportunity to have a list of resumes, go out with the ones that are more beautiful. I mean, the Gemara talks about this. The Gemara in Tainus says that the girls would go out to the field on Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av, and they would say, the beautiful ones, they had the best argument. They said, look at our yofi, right? Look at our beauty. This is the Gemara. The Gemara talks about this. And the other ones were unfortunate. They didn't have beauty. They said, look at our yichus. Look at our families. That was the second most important thing. And if they didn't have either of those, then they said, Shekar achein behevel yofi, sh'ayir Hashem tisalo. Then go with Yiras Shamayim. Go with the midos after that. So the Gemara already ascribes more importance to beauty. And number two, family, which is really, personality, a life, the social life you're going to have. And the third most important is midos. So unfortunately, we have it the opposite now. We look at midos the most important. But, it ends up being that most boys, even if they're learning yeshiva for many years, they know when they go out with a good-looking girl, they got a bar, they got a mitzvah. If they, now a lot of times you'll marry a good-looking girl and they'll have terrible personalities, but it's okay because even though your social life won't be that great, but you'll still have a great time in the bedroom, which is very important in your marriage. Which just accounts for the satisfaction of most of your marriage. So he talks about it in terms of having serenity and peace of mind. You should be with your wife more often, but that's not really what the Gemara says. The Gemara is saying having a beautiful wife, not that you should sleep with a beautiful wife, to be able to see, just like the Gemara says, having a house. When you look around and you see nice things around you, that widens your mind. It expands your mind. You're able to think, more deeply. But the aspect of having a beautiful wife for the bedroom is just that you'll enjoy your marriage better. The second thing he talks about living with health. He says it's very healthy. He brings Rabbi Yaakov Emden says the way he explains it is almost like he's talking about like going to the bathroom. He says if you keep it in, I mean, I don't know what you're taught. We'll see in a second. There are people like this. The Steipler had a problem with some of these people. They force themselves to only be together with their wives once a week, because the Gemara says the Talmud Chacham only once a week, seemingly on Friday night. And the Steipler was confronted with somebody who came who was deeply depressed. He was deeply depressed, and he came to the Steipler, and he didn't know what to do. And the Steipler asked him, what's your relationship with your wife in the bedroom? He said, I only do it once a week. And he followed all the Dikdukim in the Gemara. You only did it at Chatzos. Imagine that, doing Chatzos. The Gemara seems to imply the best time to do it is Chatzos. With Mehiras, he did it very quickly. Like the Gemara says, you should do it something like it's like a shade forced you to do it. This is what the Shulchan Aruch says. The Shulchan Aruch talks about it like this. And the disciple told him, don't listen to the Shulchan Aruch. Don't listen to the Gemara. Don't take the Gemara at face value. Don't take Shulchan Aruch at face value. Because again, not just that's this halacha, but all halachas are not meant to be taken at face value. Don't look at the Torah from a literal perspective. The Torah is not meant to be taken literally. Unfortunately, that's what halacha really is, Shulchan Aruch really is. And until we have someone who explains it better, that's what we do. It's de facto, that's the way we observe Judaism, technical Judaism nowadays. I'm not saying not to keep halacha, but halacha should be taken with a grain of salt. It's not the actual Ratzon Hashem. what is written in the Shulchan Aruch, most of what's written in the Shulchan Aruch, because it's not the sod, it's not the secret, it's not really what Hashem wants. Just like you never say the Agarita, you never say, oh, the Agarita is exactly, take it literally. You don't want to take the Agarita literally. The Agarita oftentimes is intertwined with the actual halachas in the Gemara. The Gemara gives proofs to the halachas from Agarita. So you see they're intertwined. Even the halacha is not meant to be taken literally. It's literalism, and in some religions, they have other, the Quran and things like that. If you take these books literally, it tells you to kill people, jihad, to kill other people, to kill other nations. This is not what God wants. No one will ever say God wants you to just kill other people, Any moral and rational person would never say such a thing. So all these books, all these holy books, not meant. I'm not saying Quran is holy. For Muslims, it's holy. For Jews, it's not. But the Bible is for the Christians also. You don't take these books. You shouldn't take the halachas literally. We should follow halacha. I'm not saying not to follow halacha. You should ask a rabbi try to follow halacha. But the Shas Hadchak, when there's something a pressing need, you really have to consider whether halacha is like the Litvaks assume, like it's Yarg Val Yover, or it's like the Hasidim, and it's a good eitzah. The Hasidim view halacha, the right way as an eitzah. It's a good advice, But if you're waking up, Shabbos morning, you want to get good rest, so you wake up, you daven Shachris at 10 o'clock, you say Kriya Shema, passes my. So he says over here, Rav Yaakov. So the question was, the person came to the Steipler and he was very depressed, deeply depressed. He follows everything exactly as it says in the Gemara. He says the Steipler told him, no, don't take it so literally. Be together. He says, even 3 or 4 times a week, even more, every night of the week, be together with your wife, and eventually it helped the person. He returned to normalcy, and he was a healthy, emotionally healthy person. Obviously, he was a big avarian, because now he's indulging in taivas. But that's what his advice was, because emotionally it's not healthy. It's not healthy if you want to be together with your wife more and you restrict yourself. So obviously it's going to make you depressed. And he also said to do kissing and hugging. This person was just doing the act and being over with it, even though we learned previously that foreplay and pious is so important. But apparently he forgot about this Avrich. And that's the last thing, emotional health. And the middle thing he talks about here with physical health, I mentioned Rabbi Yaakov Emden. He says, Hazeruhu mosar sheichin ateva l'tkoso kshar mosaro atamotzi. The zera, the semen, the sperm, is like any other waste products, extra products that the teva, the natural state of a person, is to get rid of them. Just like you have to go to the bathroom, you eat, you have to go to the bathroom. The nature of a person is to expel it. If you keep it, stopped up in the pipes, right, it'll hurt you. That's why you have to be together with a woman. Now, this is a problem because a lot of people don't get married. In the Jewish world, you're not allowed to hotzi zera levatal, the master, but you're not allowed to do that. It's looked as the worst sin in the world according to the Shulchan Aruch. And a lot of times you're not in control when you get married, right? You can get married at 21, 22, but you're already at the age of 13, you have a desire for a woman. Whether you're learning the base medrash or not, you go out to the street, that desire will reawaken. You're not getting married until you're 13, you're not until you're 22, if you're getting married early. And a lot of guys not getting married until 25, 30, 35. It's unfathomable. He's talking about the evidence that it hurts your body because he says, if it stays in your body, it's going to hurt you. That's why you have to be together with a woman. So how do we explain our society nowadays where you can't let out semen until you get married? It doesn't make sense according to Rabbi Emden, right? Because it's going to hurt. He becomes crazy or he gets depressed. It's good to be together. What, should go to a prostitute? Doesn't tell you how to answer. It makes you happy. It takes out the anger out of your body. If you don't take it out, it'll become stopped up. Bad spirits will come to your heart and your mind. The opposite of brius. You'll become unhealthy. And you'll get very sick. And it might even kill you. They left it for a long time. They died suddenly. Yoel and Mishkal Od, it's very important to be together with a woman. It'll cleanse your body. It'll be full. It's like, imagine someone who can't go to the bathroom, right? You can't go to the bathroom. And, you know, finally, when he's able to let it out, it's a tremendous relief for the person. It's constipated. It's a tremendous relief for the person able to go to the bathroom. Same thing with zera. Same thing with sperm, semen. If you keep it in the body too long, right? The minute you see a woman, you have a desire. It's produced, in the vas deferens or whatever, the place, the eggs and the mans deferens. It's already stored already there. Once you see a woman, you can't. As an onus, you can't help you. You can't stop it. You have to let it out. So if you're married, what he's talking about, you're married, it's important to be together with your wife to let it out. Now, I don't agree that it's like a waste product. It's not a waste product. I mean, this is the way you produce kids. I mean, sperm is used to produce kids. Hashem didn't intend to be used as a waste product. It's not, like constipation. After you get rid of it, um, it's meant to be an enjoyable experience. So I don't like his idea of comparing it to like a waste product. But there is truth into what he's saying is that if it gets clogged up, a person's not able to be together with a woman. Not only is it bad for his physical health, but like he says at the end, it's also bad for your emotional health. It's terrible, and you see this nowadays in yeshivas. These guys are staying in yeshivas. You know, it's happened to me also. You stay in yeshivas for too long, and you're not married. I mean, it's bad for you. It's bad for your physical health, and it's bad for your mental health. This is a serious problem that needs to be addressed. Um, Anyone who brings up the topic of masturbation or things like that and says it's the worst sin in the world. You look at the Zohar. The Zohar is the source where he says it's the worst sin in the world. It's not the Shulchan Aruch. It's not the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't say it's the worst sin in the world. The Gemara maybe says consider it a rasha or something like that. But it really needs, as I mentioned before, taking the Gemara literally is not the right approach. I don't believe. It's like Amelia Bedelia. So we have to take a realistic approach, and anyone who grows up in whatever society, no matter how sheltered your society is, you're going to see women in the street. You're going to be attracted to them. Once you reach the age of 12 or 13 or 14, you're going to have a natural attraction to women. And when you see women, it's going to cause in your body, certain things to happen, and like Rav Yaakov Emden says, it's going to be, stopped up in your body, and you have to let it out. Otherwise, it hurts you physically, and it hurts you emotionally. And I think the Rabbanim really have to take a more deeper look. Say the Zohar. Listen, the Zohar is a nice thing, but the Zohar is not halacha. To say it's the worst avera, that's a Zohar. We don't understand the Zohar. Maybe in certain instances it's okay. And I think there's a lot. I have a lot to say about premarital, being allowed to be together with a zona prostitute, or there's a concept of kiddushin, erisin. It's not completely clear that during erisin, chuppah, erisin, kiddushin, these things we like to understand them as they all happen on the wedding night, but really in halacha they're viewed as very different things. And when you say, but Shmonasrei l'chuppah, I really don't think it means that he should get married. You look at 18-year-old kids that get married; they're barely mature enough to tie their shoes. 18-year-old kids should not be getting married. I know in the Hasidic world it's prevalent. They want to even bring it into the Litvish world where people are getting married at 18 years old. Even 25 years old is young. I think 28 is maybe an appropriate age to get married, or to start looking to get married. But Shmona Esrei l'chuppah, that's where they bring the proof. Shmona l'chuppah, but it doesn't say Shmona Esrei l'nisuin. It says Shmona Esrei l'chuppah because chuppah is not nisuin. Chuppah means a canopy bed, and I really believe that people should get together, whether it's Rabbanim or Askanim or people who have a brain, and get together and say, listen, let's take a deeper look at Chazal and say, not lump everything together. Erisin is the same thing as Kedushin, and Chuppah is the same thing as Nisuin. It's not the same thing. There's different words that the Torah uses, and Shmona Esrei l'chuppah does not necessarily mean that you should get married at 18 years old. That's Nisuin. That's called getting married. You have to be a lot more responsible person to get married. You have to wait, I think, till you're age 28 at least. 18 years old, the chuppah, you should be allowed to go into a canopy bed with a woman. I mean, look at the rest of the world. The rest of the world, it's common to have casual sex and things like that. I know I'm saying crazy stuff. People, if there anyone listening to this, not too many people listening to this probably right now, but they're thinking, wow, this guy's crazy. He's secular. He's not religious. But the problem is that I see the sources. I have a complete knowledge of almost all the sources be'iyun, right? I give all these shurim be'iyun because I think about these things analytically. And most people just gloss over these things. They're interested in programs like Zichrut to help them remember the stupid, uh, inane facts that, um, is that the right word? Inane? What's the word? Uh, Asinine. The stupid facts, summaries of the Gemaras, but really we have to go in depth at the opposite. Instead of taking from the words a couple of ideas, try to remember them. You have to take the Gemara, the text, and analyze it a little deeper. And Shema Yisrael, the chuppah, the canopy, we think of a canopy, but there's something that's called a canopy bed. That's the real chuppah. And there should be an outlet for people in the frum world to be together with women, or even masturbation in certain circumstances. There's masturbation which is forbidden and masturbation which is permitted. And it's clear from the Torah. You're allowed to be together with your wife even though she can't have kids anymore, even though she's past menopause. Or there's certain circumstances, Mishamshut b'moch, it's a whole sukkah over there. It's not clear that every time you masturbate it's an avera. It's not really an avera. Masturbation has to be allowed in certain circumstances. People, I think, prostitution in the right form. Obviously, it's illegal prostitution in most states, but a certain type of kiddushin, I believe, is a different concept than marriage. They have this thing in Muslim, in Islam. It's only in Shia Muslim, Shiites. They practice something called Nakiya Muta, which basically means it's like a marriage contract for, like, say 9 months or like for 3 months, any predetermined time. You say we're going to be married for 12 months, and then it's over. It just dissolves after that. Maybe you need a gerushin according to the Torah, but it's a predetermined marriage contract. I think these things should be allowed. They should be introduced where you're allowed to be together with a woman for a year. Kiddushin, that's what kiddushin is. It doesn't mean you have to get married there. Marriage is it's a binding thing forever until gerushin's highly criticized by the Torah. You shouldn't get divorced. That's when you have a marriage. But gerushin from kiddushin is a good thing. Kiddushin either ends by itself, or maybe you have to annul it through a gerushin. But that's really what kiddushin is. Kiddushin is from kedusha. It's not the same as the erusin. Erusin is engagement. But even during the period of erusin, it's clear from the Gemara in Ksuvos on Daf Yud Beis that they would be miyached the chassan and kal. They were even together. They would fool around. They would a lot of times be together, and there was nothing wrong with that. It's according to most poskim, maybe it's also midrabanan, but it's not even clear it's also midrabanan. The fact that in Yehuda they're miyached chassan and kal after the erusin. After the erusin, she's muteres to you. You should say berachas ha'erusin, and then she's muteres, right? Right? Once you have the bracha, it's a question whether they're talking about the berachas ha'erusin and the berachas ha'erusin. Let's say do the berachas ha'erusin. Erusin should be a part. And now we do the erusin, the before, right before the chuppah, right before the nisuin. But that shouldn't be like that. We should go back to the time that erusin can be years or months before. Because the Gemara Kedushin acknowledges the fact that people have an overwhelming desire to be together with a woman, and it's kind of stupid that people are just getting married, and they're getting married early because they have this desire to be with women. So they get married at an irresponsible age of 21 or 20. People are pushing for them to get married. They're barely They barely know how to tie their shoes, let alone take care of a family. They're gonna have a kid in a year. They're gonna have to be a parent and a good husband at age of 21 years old, without knowing how to manage finances, and they're going to, either spend too little or spend too much, or not have any money. They're not going to have a source of income because he's already in kollel and she has no money saved up in the bank. It's a terrible situation. The whole reason this is perpetuated is because we believe that any time you let out semen before the marriage is completely austere. It's the worst avera we could do. We have it ingrained in our minds. The Yetzer Hara, right? You think it's the Yetzer Tov that's telling you. The Yetzer Hara is telling you this. Yetzer Hara is telling you it's the worst thing in the world. Let's get married. But you're ruining society. You're ruining from society by doing this, because you're forcing people to get married at an age where they're not responsible to be married or to be a father or a husband. And and that's the whole reason people are getting married. So if people had an outlet, which he said it's essential, Rav Yaakov says physically you can't keep it in, and emotionally also it causes people to get depressed when they can't be with women and they can't have these outlets over here. Even viewing pornography in certain ways. Who says viewing pornography is usher? Who says that? Where does it say in the Torah that it's usher? Show me a source. Right? It says, right? You shouldn't go here halev. You shouldn't. The Gemara says you shouldn't see something tuma balayla. Everyone assumes that, oh, that means seeing pornography or seeing someone naked is a problem, but take a deeper look. Let's analyze these Gemaras. Let's have an open discussion. Why are we not talking about these things? Why is there no one that talks about these things? People are too embarrassed. I'm the only one who's not embarrassed enough to talk about these things. I'll talk about it on the camera. I'll put it on YouTube. I'm not embarrassed about these things. Let's have an open discussion. These are problems. These are really big problems. The only reason people are getting married is just to be able to be together with their wives. They're getting married young. It's causing a lot of bad marriages. A lot of young people get divorced right away. They're not mature enough to be married. They get into an argument. That's it. They want to end the marriage with the wrong person. It wasn't my zivug. No, you're not going to marry a zivug anyway, but you should be mature enough to know that you can work together as a unit and have a decent marriage, So there's this whole topic of, masturbation, pornography. You hear about it. It's like taboo. We don't want to talk about it. But if you hear about it, you start talking about it, it's not even a discussion whether it's okay or not. It's called an addiction. You have an addiction to pornography. There's nothing wrong with looking at pornography, I don't believe. Now, I'm not saying I do it, but I'm saying I don't believe there's anything wrong with looking at pornography. I really don't. I mean, I'll tell you, pornography, most of it is hard pornography. It's not going to be enjoyable to do that with your wife in the bedroom. Pornography that's the correct pornography is the soft pornography, which should be in your bedroom, where there's a lot of kissing and hugging and caressing, and not the type of acts they do in pornographic films and things like that. So those things, it's not helpful to see that, but it is help. That's really what's available in the adult film industry. That's what they portray. But people like to watch it, and I don't think there's anything terrible about watching it. And if you watch it, you're probably going to masturbate, So, but there should be a forum that allows these things. So we shouldn't rush into getting married. You shouldn't rush into getting married. The Torah has a lot of ways to deal with, to make sure that, because these are problems, as noted by these big rabbis, just physical problems and emotional problems if you don't let it out. And a lot of boys are not able to get married right away at the age of 21 or 22. Besides the fact that they should be already married, they already had these desires at the age of 12 or 13. We're not talking about that. It's been saved up for 10 years. By the time they're 22, they still have it in them. But some guys go and get married till they're 30, 35. Get married when they're 35 years old. It's crazy to make people wait this long. Some people never get married. What are they supposed to do? Their whole life they have to starve themselves. It's a greater need than actual food itself. If you know what the need of letting semen out of, sexual need is a greater need for everybody. It's a more important need for everybody than eating itself. Even though eating, you'll die if you don't eat. But this, you'll also die. You'll die emotionally and you'll die physically, like he says over here, if you don't let it out. And obviously this book is talking about marriage over here. He's talking about you should do it more often when you're married in order to help yourself physically and emotionally. But I believe this is a much bigger problem, especially in the frum world. In the secular world, there's two types of people. There's incel people that there's people that engage in casual sex all the time. They're good at getting women. Even the ones that are not good at getting women, a lot of women, are promiscuous nowadays. A lot of people engage in casual sex in college. College is rampant with this. Spring break and things like that. Even in high school, when I was going to high school, from Monterey High School, there were numerous guys that were good with women. They were. I heard on breakfast they were talking about. They were talking about what's the best way to enjoy it together when you're having sex with your girlfriend. What's the way to enjoy it the most. They were talking about it, to hold it a little longer. They were saying, I remember these discussions like this. And this is high school, from Monterey High School. It's rampant in Monterey High schools. This is what people do. It's just a need, and people do it. And of course, if you talk about it, it's the worst thing in the world. But this just happens in the world. In the world, regular world, people engage in casual sex all the time. And then you have people that are not capable. A lot of people, I guess, called incel community nowadays, involuntarily celibate, that are not able to have women. And of course, the non-frum world, you have avenues to address this. You have porn, you have masturbation. Those things are allowed, so it's not so terrible for them. Obviously, it's if they engage in that too long, and don't try to make an effort to get married and get with a real woman, it's going to cause problems to them. But on a short-term basis, at least it's a remedy. But you have in the Jewish world, in the frum world, it's a really big problem. It needs to be talked about more. Hope you enjoyed today's lecture. See you in the next one.